Hello everyone and welcome to a fun video where we're gonna explore pay-to-play lands in free-to-play. So, have you ever wondered, on a free-to-play server like Neat Free-to-Play, what do the pay-to-play lands look like? When we try to go to these lands, we really can't get there because obviously it's free-to-play only. So, what do they look like beyond the gates that we can't cross? And in this video, it's kind of just gonna go through that and see what they look like. Now there might be some bugs with pay-to-play content in an open RSC server that has free-to-play mode enabled, like Neat Free-to-Play does. So we might find some things that are buggy, but it doesn't really matter from our viewpoint because we're playing in free-to-play only, and so it really matters the stuff on this side of the gate. Making sure that this stuff is authentic, but in some cases, yes, if something is inauthentic on this other side of the gate in those pay-to-play lands, and we'll want to fix that. Obviously, if you try to open a gate in Neat Free-to-Play, you're going to see you need to be a member to use this gate, right? And it's pretty hard for admins to even get past this gate, because if we use the blink command, for example, and click over here, it's actually going to teleport us away from the gate and further south back into Falador. It's pretty hard to get into pay-to-play just by clicking with the blink command. You basically just can't do it. It just keeps sending you south as if it's trying to say, don't do that. But by the way, blink is just a command that lets you jump around basically. So we're going to turn blink off. But the best way to do it, honestly, is to just teleport using the teleport command. So we're going to actually look at our chords right now using the chords command. And it's going to say we're at 341488. So I'm going to step back a few coordinates and do it again, and it looks like that X number is going down. So all we want to do actually is just say teleport to 343388. I probably got that second number wrong, so let me actually teleport back to Falador. 345488. That's going to land us in Members Land, and blink should be off. So now I can walk around and I'm officially in Members Land. So some parts of Members Land are going to look normal, like you would see if you were on a pay-to-play server, you would basically see the same thing. Now, other parts, like some parts of the wilderness that are members only, are going to look way different. And it's a bit inconsistent, but you see we see our first NPC here. We can examine it. It's a boy. He doesn't seem very happy. Obviously, this is an NPC that you talk to start a quest, or he's related to a quest. Now, you'll notice that we're going to see you must be on Members World to do that. Yet we are able to talk with this NPC and start a quest or talk with them to advance a quest. So that is an interesting thing that's happening in the game that doesn't really affect us as free-to-play players because it's impossible to get over here. But it is something that is questionable about OpenRC's framework. Like, if it's saying we must be a member to do that, why are we allowed to continue talking to this boy, this NPC? And I found that even if we go try to talk to Kakwimix up north, we can actually start the Druidic Ritual quest. So I'm going to go ahead and go talk to him and show you that. So he's saying you need to speak to Sandfew, etc. He's in the village south of here to continue with your quest. So I'd like to see how far we can get with this quest just by spawning, I guess, items, or maybe just trying to complete the quest normally. But we can do the same thing with Sandfew. If we try to talk to Sandfew, he's going to let us talk. Even though it says you must be on a member's role to do that, it still kind of just lets you talk with him and continue the quest, which is an interesting functionality thing. Yeah, he's going to tell you where to get the meats and stuff like that, and so you can continue the quest that way. But yeah, even the shop owner is here. Now you'll notice that some NPCs are missing here, and that's the druids. They seem to be missing. So in a pay-to-play world, like a real one, you'll see level 34 druids here that you can attack and you can talk to, etc. And they are just missing. So some NPCs are present and interactable, and some just aren't. So let me try to buy something from the shop here. And I can buy things. If I have money, I can actually buy stuff here. Pestle and Mortar is a members item, so it says it's only available for members, so we can't buy it. Obviously I don't have any coins, so I can't buy the other free-to-play stuff. So it looks like I can't buy any members items, but if we talk to Gaius, I can probably buy anything here. There are some interesting things with this pay-to-play land. So as we go south, you're going to see some major things are missing. So in a pay-to-play world, you typically see Well, you have this ladder here, which is really ominous because I don't even remember it looking like this. But in pay-to-play, if you go west enough, you'll actually start to see White Wolf Mountain. And that is completely missing in the free-to-play version of this pay-to-play map. And that's an interesting difference. Now, what happens if we click on this ladder? It says it's leading downwards.
Stop it! Don't open that door!
But do sub to Beast.
When we click in this ladder, we're taken here, which is, if you remember, it's basically the dungeon that appears around here. And I can't click on the minimap to walk anywhere, basically, because the map doesn't render this at all. It doesn't think that you're supposed to be, like, available to go down here. The game thinks, how did you get down here when you're not on a pay-to-play world? We're not even gonna, like, render a map that you could walk on. Basically, we're just gonna render some of the stuff that exists, but we're not gonna render, like, the tiles that you can actually walk on. So, this is also known as the Void. Just if you're on a black space, you know, somewhere where there's no ground, it basically means you can't walk around. If I click talk on the scorpion, that doesn't work. If I click search on the coffin, it doesn't work. Basically, I can only move around by teleporting, so let's look at my coordinates. Okay, so yeah, it's teleporting me around. We have eggs, but we don't really have many NPCs. As I teleport around, you can see I can see some skeletons that are supposed to spawn here, but they don't move. So, as you can see, it's kind of a buggy mess. Let's try to get back to where we were. There we go. Okay, so now we're on the ladder. We can walk off of it. And that's that ladder. It doesn't even look the same. I don't remember there being like dead trees here. But let's walk even further south and just see kind of what we see. So there's a mine here. Looks like we can access the Dark Wizard's Tower. Let's see if we can actually open this door though. Looks like we can. These are free-to-play NPCs, so I mean this makes sense that this is okay. We can go up here. There's more. And then there's the chaos spawn. So this all makes sense. I mean, this doesn't seem that weird that we would be able to do this. Now, one interesting part of this is this. So I have roof hiding turned off, but still something's very wrong with this set of stairs. I'm not even sure what this is supposed to be, except I know that because of the mountain dwarfs, it's supposed to be something to do with the mountain dwarf, like mine or something. You can't go down there. Well, yeah, it looks like it.
Thanks for the update, Captain Obvious.
So yeah, something is definitely very wrong here. Probably just the Open RSC framework code in free-to-play mode is saying we're gonna render some things and we're gonna not render other things, and it's just kind of a sloppy mess. I can't actually click on the stairs. I would have to teleport there and then maybe it would work. But yeah, I can't even get in through here. If I try to close the doors, that also doesn't work. Moving right along, we have a unicorn here which spawns. Heroes Quest is kind of the same thing, where you can talk to this NPC and they'll tell you how to get into Heroes Guild, and you can click on the door, but, you know, it doesn't do anything except, you know, say, I'm a hero, can I join, or whatever. It's similar to pay-to-play, where you need to have a certain amount of quest points, you need to complete a certain amount of quests, etc. So, that just doesn't work. But the stone circle is here, the witch's house is here, some things are here. So we could get into the Heroes Guild just by teleporting. That'll take us in. And we're in! Just making sure Blinks is off. Let's talk to this guy. Welcome to the Heroes Guild. Can you sell anything here? So, I can't buy this because it's only available for members only. Makes sense. When we try to go down here, we're probably going to get into the void again, where we're just kind of stuck. There's not really much here. Some things aren't even spawning, like you'll notice the blue dragon is missing. I can't even go back up. I have to check my coordinates and fix that. So if we try to go up a ladder, we're gonna also probably... Oh no, this works. So if you go up ladders, it's basically just normal. It works. And if I go down, this has a defined area, so it kind of works. So in a free-to-play configured world, some pay-to-play lands just don't render, but they're usually like below ground places that they don't expect you to be able to get into, so it doesn't It's not rendered on the map, but it looks like some second floors are rendered. If I try to exit the Heroes Guild from inside, it does not let me in, which makes sense. This was basically what Taverly looked like. It's pretty small. It's missing a whole mountain. It's missing the mountain dwarf renderings, the ladder, the stairs, etc. But some NPCs are interactable, even though they probably shouldn't be, and that's kind of it, and we'll move on to the next section. Before we get into the wilderness areas that are kind of pay-to-play lands, we're actually going to go past the Edgeville Dungeon, and you don't even have to be an admin to see this, but if you get to the Edgeville Dungeon and approach it, you're going to see that the ground just kind of disappears. It's pretty spooky, actually. So again, it's just a weird thing with how the OpenRSC framework kind of renders pay-to-play map areas. It kind of just doesn't put a ground in there if it thinks that it's impossible for you to go there. So if you click on the gate, obviously you need to be a member to use this gate. So I'm gonna type chords to see what my coordinates are. So interestingly, I'm actually lower than the tunnel is, which that's very interesting. So let's actually do that one more time. Okay, so now I've just teleported just past the gate. So if I try to click on the gate from the inside, it said I need to be a member, which makes sense. I can click on these two tiles here, but I can't click into the black area. So notice that my coordinates are now 1973264. Okay, so let's see what teleporting to 1973263 looks like. You see, I kind of stepped down there. It's very interesting, but my character kind of goes down. It's like he's falling. But let's do this a little bit more. We're going further down now. So it's funny, I guess this must be like a slope in the map. So maybe some of the physics of the map still exists even though there's no ground. I'm not exactly sure how it's working. But we're just going to go a little bit further and see if we see anything here. So 3250 maybe. So as I go further, you'll notice that bugs are definitely missing. But I see a yellow dot up there, and that's going to probably be a red spider because it's technically a free-to-play NPC. I see a red spider, so there's only one though, which is kind of interesting, and he doesn't move, but that's basically what's happening. So now if we try to, say, go even further west, I see a blue dot, but I don't see any NPCs, which is actually kind of interesting because level 54 skeletons are free-to-play, but I don't see them. So this is a little bit wonky, like I don't really understand why this is working the way it is. But let's just see what else we see here. But we're getting a little closer, and we see that this is, in fact, just a torch. And I agree, it would be very dark without this. For some reason, there's only one torch here, even though this would probably be the black demon area, so there should be multiple. Yes, this is basically all I can deduct from the Edgeville Wilderness part of the pay-to-play lands on a free-to-play world. It's kind of just weird. Some things are there, most things aren't. And let's move on. Alright, we're going to get into the wilderness now. So we're going to turn on blink mode so we can fly around. And we're going to go all the way up because in free-to-play wilderness, before level 50, nothing is really any different except, of course, that thugs don't spawn where you'd expect them to. You know, this is basic free-to-play stuff. So if you were to go where thugs spawn in pay-to-play, you just won't see them here. They don't exist, but they will show up on a pay-to-play world. So we're going to go all the way north as far as we can, and actually I got attacked by a zombie on the way. So we can blink past the wilderness gate, and we are now in pay-to-play wilderness lands on a free-to-play world. So what does it look like? Let's just fly around a little bit. So the first thing you're going to notice is that pay-to-play wild on a free-to-play world is very different because a lot of NPCs do not spawn. For example, there are no scorpions here. No scorpions, but notice that also a lot of scenery objects are missing. Carcasses, bones, you know, things that you would typically see around here, they're just missing. We do have a cliff here, and that seems right. If we go east, we see the Rogue's Hut, which is just a building. It's just a building. There's no door, just like pay-to-play, but there's also no rogues. There's also no fireplace. The fireplace is oddly missing. So that's interesting. Let's keep blinking around. Basically, pay-to-play wilderness on a free-to-play world is kind of like the desert. It feels a lot like the desert, but there's just no NPCs. So let's go further west to some more interesting areas. Here's the Axe Hut. Notice that there's no doors. Notice that there's no axes, and there's also no chests. So It's just kind of a building that's empty. As we walk west, we're going to see the lever and the lava that surrounds it, and that's going to be quite empty. So basically there's a little hut here, but there's no lever. So if I go over here, right click, I see nothing and nothing is here. So let's keep going west. We're going to see that building that the bats spawn in, but obviously it's just a shell of a building. There's no items and no NPCs here. Also note that actually some rocks are missing. There's supposed to be some mining rocks right here near the building. Those are just completely absent, so you won't be able to interact with those if you somehow reach this land in free-to-play. Now, most interesting of all is the Mage Arena. What does that look like in members? So you may have noticed if you're on the south side of this fence, it seems like it's missing a lot of stuff, and it really is. So this is what it looks like. So we're going to go in here. Notice that there's no webs. Basically, all basic scenery things are just kind of missing, and that kind of makes sense, because we don't really need them to be here. It's not really possible to get here. Now, these graphics on the floor are here, and they look pretty cool, but the ladder is just completely gone. I'm clicking on this and nothing is happening. So, not possible to get down there, definitely. There is an interesting little pond here, which I think is present in pay-to-play as well. As we approach the Mage Arena, what do we see? It's missing a gate. It's missing a gate. It seems to be just a walkway. So let's walk over here where we would typically enter. And we see a very stretched out graphic, which I think is actually maybe normal for RSC, I forget. But what if I click on here, I try to walk up, I can't. What if I click the minimap? It won't let me walk up there. I could teleport up there though, so let's try to do that. And now I'm in the Mage Arena. I can walk around here, but you can't really get here, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, you can walk down this way. I see. So you can't actually walk to the outside, but you can walk within the bridge. It's really not very interesting as far as, content goes. There's really not much. There's just some ground markings, you have some lava. You do have a Mage Arena, but there's nothing in it, and there's no scenery. So you could wander around here, maybe get lost. I don't know. And then you could leave. So let's leave this area. Let's blink back to the Mage Arena Bank area. So as we go west, we're going to see Pirate Hut. But Pirate Hut looks a lot different, doesn't it? For one thing, the doors are just open. So we can walk in here, and there's nothing. There's no tables, there's no items, there's no chests, and obviously there's no NPCs. You would actually think that there might be NPCs here, because technically pirates are a free-to-play NPC, but it looks like the game just does not render them at all. It does not load them in. They're kind of just, it's a house you can just walk into.
Wow, what a mansion!
This would actually be a lot of fun to just PK in these areas as a free-to-player. It's not authentic, but I think it would be a lot of fun just because of how spooky it is. Lots of stuff just missing, lots of hollowed out shells of a building kind of thing. It's really, really cool. So here we see nothing. There's not even a stairway here. It's just a gate in a black space. So I don't even know what would happen if I teleported there. Let's try. Okay, so I've teleported onto the black area. I can't get away from it. Oh, I can. Okay, so I can click out of it, but I can't click into it. Interesting. Yeah, it's not going to let me go there, but it is going to let me escape. Now, there is a little shack here that typically has a bed, and I think it's probably just not going to spawn with anything, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. It's just a shell of a building. There's no bed. There's no scenery. So as we blink our way over to the Agility Arena, let's see what that looks like. I'm going to turn blink off. What happens if I click here? Do I fall? Nope. It's just a map. You're just going to click around, and notice that the Agility Arena looks a lot different in free-to-play. So what is this? There's just, looks like a small shack with no door, and then what's over here? Looks like, yep, just missing agility interactions. Missing agility scenery. There's no stepping stones. There's a black shape here where a ladder is usually, and we've got a lot of missing stuff. Yeah, this is positively spooky. But it looks like it's basically just a shell of the Agility Arena. It's missing a lot of stuff, and I think we can move on from this part. So past the agility area, it's really not much. It's gonna be, you know, some ground, and that's it. It's gonna be missing the ice spiders, for example, which those are pay to play only. And so this is gonna be the other gate into the wilderness of pay to play. So it's just a lot of empty stuff in the wilderness so far. If we try to open the gate from this side, we will of course see the same message that says we need to be a member to use that, and that's free to play over there. With that being said, we're going to move on to the next part of the Pay to Play Lands tour. Our next members gate is going to be the one near Varrock. So this is one that you may forget about, but it is here, and it lets you get to the Digsite part of the Pay to Play Lands, and we're going to use the coordinates command to see what our coordinates are, and we're going to try to move ourselves over there. And we are now in this part of Pay to Play Lands. So what does this look like? We're probably going to see something very similar to what we saw in Taverly, where we have missing NPCs, maybe odd map issues, but we're going to just walk around a little bit. We do have some NPCs here. What happens when we talk to them? It's a similar thing where the NPCs spawn because they're quest NPCs, but it says you must be on a member's role to do that every time you talk to them. But it will probably let you continue with the quest. We do have some scenery here, like chests and things, so some things are present and some things aren't. This is a bit different from the wilderness area, which basically let us, you know, it didn't have any scenery. And we're going to blink around a little bit more, but what we're probably going to see at the dig site is something very similar to what we saw in Taverly. We do have a bucket here, and what is the other item we have here? We have a bronze pickaxe. So as we blink into the dig site area itself, we're going to see pay to play NPCs. It's probably going to be very similar where we have items here and we have pay to play NPCs which we can talk to. But obviously, you know, we would never be able to get here, so it doesn't really matter. And it looks like the gnome pilots are very similar to the other NPCs. But yeah, there's not really much to see here except it's kind of the dig site. If you guys want me to try something here, I can try it, but you know, let me know what you want me to do. We're gonna move on to the next area. So the final area that we'll be covering today, I think, is gonna be Brimhaven. So just west of Karamja, we have the area of Brimhaven, and I'm seeing something very similar to the wilderness, the pay-to-play wilderness area, where we're seeing shells of buildings, but no NPCs inside. And I do wonder why some cities and areas of pay-to-play in a free-to-play world act like this and others don't. We know that the codebase with OpenRSC framework is very old, and to be honest, not a lot of people have worked on the free-to-play mode for it, except me, Log, and maybe some other people. So it's very interesting that some areas are just like huge ghost lands and others have NPCs that you can actually interact with. That's probably not how it's supposed to work, but who knows exactly how this was back in 2003 if you were able to somehow get over here. So I'm not really sure, but this is just an empty area right now, and there's not much going on here. This is where you would range the dog or whatever, I forget how it worked. So let's just blink around a little bit and see how far we can go with this. So if I blink down here, interesting. So Brimhaven, it looks like a boot, doesn't it? It kind of looks like a boot. So I think this is supposed to lead somewhere, like to the jungle or something. If we go north here, we have a pier, but yeah, there's no ship here, and there's no NPCs to talk to. So it's kind of just a pier that goes nowhere, which is kind of interesting and spooky. So yeah, I think this is basically all that there is to see with Brimhaven. There's an empty building here, but there's not really anything to look at. All these buildings are missing doors. Yeah, so I think we've basically seen everything we have to see with Brimhaven. It's just a bunch of empty buildings, and then there's this weird boot down here. And I don't remember what this is supposed to be in pay-to-play, but I think something's supposed to be here, but there's nothing here. I think that's all the pay-to-play lands I can really think of. There are some other ones. We'll take a look. This is a pay-to-play area that you can't enter from free-to-play, so technically there are logs here which spawn. I try to go up this ladder. It's probably going to take me into the void. Well, actually, no, it works. It takes me to a ladder. Let's click it again. Okay, so if I go up to where the cat usually is, it's not here, but I am able to go up here, which is kind of interesting. You search the crate, but find nothing. Probably because I haven't started the quest, it isn't even doing the thing where you hear a cat meowing. it's saying you find nothing in any of them, and that's kind of how this looks. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if I missed any pay-to-play areas that you might want to see what it looks like in free-to-play. But basically the consensus is some pay-to-play lands have actual NPCs and enemies and quest NPCs that you can talk to and interact with, and some of them just don't. There are probably some underground areas that are pay-to-play only that we haven't covered, but those are just to avoid. Some entities load and some don't. There's no real rhyme or reason or consistency with it, which might be something to fix, and it might not be. We're not really sure. We don't have conclusive evidence of how this would look in Jagex's server right now if it somehow had free-to-play mode and pay-to-play mode separate and also was still around. So we don't really know. But basically this is how it looks like on an open RSC framework server with free-to-play mode turned on, but exploring those unaccessible areas. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.
You may be wondering what Edun looks like in F2P. You'll have to wait till the next video, but I will reveal one interesting thing I found. It's a bit hard to see, but zooming in reveals a cryptic message. Sub to Beast Fable. What could this mean?